the Dr. Lawrence license. And first and foremost, I will thank the community practice for putting this phenomenal event on. Let's give them a hand. So, I have worked in the field, substance use disorder, for quite a number of years. But what I want to first say about myself is that oftentimes when we hear on television about the epidemic, we hear about people like about people like Prince that died from the opioid and substance use disorder epidemic. But I'm here to tell you that you are looking at the face of an individual who has been sober for 27 years. And so what I'd like to say before I say anything is that old lie, once an addict, always an addict, can be smashed and sent back to the pit where it came from. Because we do recover. Because of people just like you, through a 12-step program, I was able to reach out and be led by other people through this muck and mire of addiction, of homelessness, of sleeping out in the park, of dereliction. That was my life back in the 80s, but that's not my life today. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And so I'm at Kennesaw State University doing research around substance use disorder. And one of the things that having worked with the state of Georgia, in addition to being at the Kennesaw State University, I had the privilege of setting up the statewide strategic plan for the opioid and prescription drug overdose epidemic. And so when we talk about opioids, I often want to make sure that we all are aware of what opioids are. And so basically, opioids are used to treat pain. In addition to being a professor at Kennesaw State University, I'm also a respiratory therapist. So I have treated patients that are on mechanical ventilators, patients that have diseases that require opioids. So basically, they have a great role, and that is to treat moderate to severe pain, either acute pain and or chronic pain. But what we get in trouble with is treatment of chronic pain. So this second part here, anyone who takes prescription opioids can become addicted to them. In fact, 1 in 4 individuals who who take opioids can become addicted. And so this is where we got in trouble because oftentimes they've been prescribed as ordered by their physicians, but oftentimes individuals, not knowing, have become addicted based on being prescribed drugs. So when we talk about opioids specifically, the main one is Oxycontin, and this is the one that oftentimes are not only prescribed within medical centers, but also prescribed on the street. And the thing that I want you to note here is that when we look at these other kinds of medications, when we get in trouble, by fentanyl and carfentanil. And fentanyl, basically, when we're talking about illegal drugs, many of your prescription drugs are laced with these drugs. And once they're laced with the drug, this is where we're seeing our overdose happen. And just for comparison, fentanyl is 100 times more potent than morphine, and carfentanil is 1,000 times more potent than morphine. And so this is where we get in trouble. The other thing that happens is oftentimes when individuals can no longer afford prescription drugs, this is where we see the transition to heroin or street drugs based on affordability. So when we look at the LGBT community, and I am a Black gay male, and oftentimes the thing that I struggled with for so many years was issues around discrimination, issues around sexuality, sexual orientation. So when we look at substance use disorder in comparison to heterosexual community, the LGBT community basically is twice likely to be addicted to substances compared to other communities. So I want to just see if we can't open this slide. And this was a study, one of the only studies that's been done looking at substance use disorder among the LGBT community. So what it looks at here is opioid use among MSM. It looks at meth use among MSM, and it looks at cocaine use among MSM. So when you compare these three, what you see is basically the levels are the same between opioid use, meth use. Cocaine use is basically twice as much as opioid use in terms of prevalence. The thing that I like to really just point out here is in this graph right here, where it says opioids by race and ethnicity. Now, while African American MSM, men who have sex with men, have a lower prevalence rate in terms of substance use disorder, the trajectory is going up faster than any other group within the heterosexual community or within the MSM community. And that you can see here is constantly going up. If we have not learned anything else from the HIV/AIDS epidemic, if we do not concentrate our efforts on every community, then ultimately what we find is that the face of that community will change. So although opioid use may look now like it's white MSM, in fact, if we don't make sure that we provide interventions for every community that's involved, ultimately the face of that epidemic will change. So in kind of wrapping this up, one of the things that I had the opportunity again to do with the Georgia Department of Public Health was to set up a statewide strategic plan. And so we had 5 different areas of concentration that we focused on. And one of the beautiful things about this is that the plan was a community-driven plan. So we looked at prevention, we looked at surveillance, we looked at treatment, we also looked at recovery, and we also looked at law enforcement. Those were the 5 salient areas. So we brought in members of the community and asked them, because many of them were working in their individual silos in terms of doing the necessary work. But we brought all these individuals together and they came up with recommendations in terms of what we ought to be doing in terms of the opioid prescription drug overdose epidemic. And one of the things that has sort of transpired as a result of that is a multicultural committee. And that multicultural committee, it was set up to make sure that no community is left behind in terms of the opioid and prescription drug overdose epidemic. Because what is happening, a lot of the dollars that are coming down are basically coming down based on numbers. And while LGBT community may not have the same numbers as the majority community has, we want to make sure that they're not left behind in terms of intervention, in terms of resources. So the multicultural community really was set up to provide input from the community in terms of what the needs are in the LGBT community, in the senior citizen community, in rural communities. Those are the three major ones that we're starting off with. And starting June 1st, actually, we receive funding to do a needs assessment in terms of the LGBT community in Georgia to determine what their needs are. And so that project will be started. And so just to wrap this up, one of the things that I want to say is that when we're dealing with the opioid and prescription drug epidemic, when we see people, especially as a respiratory therapist, that come into the emergency department, they don't come in with just one drug or one particular drug or two. They're usually polysubstance use. So we want to look at this more holistically, and we want to make sure that no community is left behind, whether it's senior citizens, whether it's pregnant women, whether it's children, all are affected by this opioid prescription drug overdose epidemic. And this is an old saying that oftentimes I think has relevance for today by John Donne. And he kind of wrote this maybe 300-400 years ago. And he really talks about that we are all interconnected, that no man is an island unto himself. Every man is a part of the main, a part of the continent. Therefore, never sin to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. What that means is, anytime an individual dies, anytime an individual is impacted from substance use disorder, each and every one of us are affected